Hey there friends, if you've been following my videos for the last couple of months, you know that it is the beginning of the month. So it means it's time for me to drop a little truth on your monkey ass. But first, check out my friend CMMG. CMMG makes some of the finest firearms on the market. One of the biggest things that drew me to CMMG was not only the quality of their firearms, but also their parts kits and things of that nature that you can get to work on your existing firearms. But probably the biggest thing that's landed me with them and kept me with them is the fact that they put their money where their mouth is. They are involved in some of the, and I'm not going to go into details of these, you can look at those yourself, but in supporting both financially and through posts from their own website of supporting some of the legislation against the anti-gun bills out there that the ATF has pushed. These guys have spoken outwardly and been involved in some of these lawsuits. Big deal to me. That's a huge deal to me. A lot of these companies pretend to be pro-Second Amendment, and they don't actually support that. They simply do that to try to bamboozle you and I into thinking that they care. CMMG cares. Go to cmmg.com, cmmg.com. Don't forget to use my discount code FTATF. Again, FTATF is my discount code that will get you 10% off whatever you purchase on their website. I highly recommend these guys. I use these guys. You're going to see them in my videos, firearms of my preference. Whenever S hits the fan, these guys move with me. So again, cmmg.com. Don't forget to use the discount code FTATF. Well, again, it's the beginning of the month. It's time to debunk and correct all of the Gun Violence Archive's mistakes. Now, I started doing this in January of this year, 2024, because I noticed towards the end of last year all the discrepancies and all the errors in what their reports were showing. Quite simply, they're not reliable. And why does it matter? It matters because the CNNs, MSNBCs, mainstream media, the White House use the Gun Violence Archive as their gold standard. And guess what? These are the pros, their numbers. They use these numbers to try to push and implement new anti-gun laws out there. Well, if that's their standard, then doesn't somebody owe it to somebody, like the public, to make sure that these numbers are right? I took the lead on that. They're not right. And I show you how month after month. Starting in January, I started debunking these numbers. February, guess what? I was doing school shootings too, quote unquote, because Gun Violence Archive listed school shootings. In the month of February, I got them to change school shootings to now school incidents, because 90% of what they were calling school shootings, a gun was never fired on school property. In most cases, it was a firearm that was snuck into a backpack of a kid that was at school. And again, no shot was ever fired. They simply discovered this. They were counting this as school shootings. They've since called it school incidents now. Gun Violence Archive changed that as a result of this channel pushing them on it. Waiting for an interview with Mark Bryant with the Gun Violence Archive. Haven't gotten that yet. So I'm going to continue on debunking their, quote, mass shootings. Now, why does that matter? Because the whole stigma of a mass shooting is to try to make you think that this is a, quote, epidemic, that it's a massive problem in the United States, and everywhere we turn, we never know when somebody's going to jump out of the shadows and shoot at everybody indiscriminately because they have a screw loose, and this is a way for them to count these as big-time numbers. Not so fast. When you go to their website, the first page you come to is this one right here. And if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, this is going to be a chart that you see. Look at the chart on the left. Notice about the third line down, mass shootings. It says so far in 2024, we have had 99 mass shootings and 9 mass murders. This is a lie. This is not true. As I click into, go back to the first page, you can see up at the top, you see where it says reports. Click on reports. And then it brings you to this page. Look towards the right, mass shootings all years. Click on that. I'm telling you this so you guys can verify what I'm telling you. And if you think I'm wrong, just simply tell me that I'm wrong. But I'm right. After clicking on that, it takes you to their list of reports, right? I take their list of reports, export it into a workable file, and then I make my own file using their exact wordings, numbers, tables, everything. I simply revamp it so that you can understand what I'm talking about and where the actual facts are. If I start out looking at their list for March, notice the very first one that they have out there is a shooting in Louisiana. We find that that's 4 guys leaving an apartment complex and they got shot at. That's what they call a mass shooting, right? Now look at the column to the far right. Accidental, rampage, domestic, or confrontation. You're not going to see many, if any, accidentals because, again, their definition, their remade definition on the Gun Violence Archive is 4 or more people shot. 4 people being accidentally shot would be a rarity. But nevertheless, out of fairness, I include that in here. Rampage is the true one that would be considered a mass shooting, quote unquote, that would strike fear in the hearts of your average everyday American. This is a random shooting at a mall, school, church, wherever, indiscriminately, where somebody is trying to kill as many people as they can. They don't care who the people are. In other words, the people are not always and very rarely known to them. They simply are trying to make a statement by killing as many people as possible. That is very rare, you're going to find. And if you look, the domestic is very obvious. That's if we have a domestic dispute of some sort where people are shot. And then the last category is confrontational. That's going to be where we accrue the vast majority of our numbers. That's going to be drive-by shootings, house parties, street parties, drive-bys. Did I already say drive-bys? Seems pretty obvious. These are usually happening at 2 a.m. in the morning. They're happening in your bad parts of town. And it's your usual suspects that this is happening with. The same people, usually the same age group. You're usually not going to find yourself there. This is not scary to me. The numbers that make up the confrontational shootings are not scary to me. Because rarely will I find myself at a street party at 2 a.m. in the morning running from people shooting at me. I'm usually in my bed, nestled in there nice and just snoozing away. So these types of shootings that they're trying to scare me with by inflating these numbers are really not scary to me. Are they a problem? Yes. Do I think they should be addressed? Yes. If our young people think it's okay to run around at 2 a.m. in the morning at tennis courts, basketball courts, parking lots, and shoot at each other, we have a problem. Unfortunately, for political reasons, nobody wants to address the problem because it's going to hurt some feelings. On this channel, we're not afraid to hurt feelings. Here we go. As you can see, I have them listed at the far right-hand corner. I go through every single one of these to see what they are. Starting with the very first one on March 2nd in Natchez, Louisiana. Car shot at, leaving apartments. The next one is a party where people got mad and shot at each other. The next one is a drive-by at a bar. The next one is a fight at a club. The next one is a party, gang-related. Next one, gang-related hit. The gang-related hit, if you'll notice, I went ahead and pulled this one up because I wanted you to see that I just don't randomly assume that it might be gang-related. This is the one you guys might remember that hit the news. A SEPTA bus shooting leaves teen dead, 4 others wounded in Philadelphia's Ogance neighborhood. A teen is dead and 4 other people are injured after gunfire rang out at a SEPTA bus stop in Philadelphia's Ogance neighborhood on Monday. Philadelphia Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel says 2 gunmen walked up and started firing on the block around 3:45 p.m. This one was a hit. Multiple shooters, multiple armed shooters came up to this area and randomly, quote unquote, started shooting at a targeted person. I believe the next day there was also a same type of shooting, more than likely a retaliatory gang-related shooting, where the person they were shooting at was shot 9 times. So again, gang-related, these people knew each other, and again, one was probably retaliation for the other. Now, we could go through all these if you wanted to, but I'm not going to. You see where I classify what they are: street fights, possible gangs, bar fights in most cases, block parties. It just goes on and on and on. These are the same types of shootings all the way through here. Now, you'll notice I have 2 of them highlighted in yellow with a D next to them. Those are domestic shootings. Now, I want to point those out real quick. I'm not calling them necessarily domestic shootings. The Gun Violence Archive is calling them domestic shootings, and I confirm those by going and looking at the incident reports. Notice the last bullet on both of these says domestic violence. These are fights within a household, and somebody within the household ends up shooting either everybody or most of the people in the house. And a lot of times they'll end in a suicide by the shooter themselves. So we had 2 of those in the month of March, unfortunately. Is this a problem? Yes, it's a problem. How do you fix it? I don't know. In many cases, these are problems that originate inside the household. You guys know it's tough, right? It's tough raising a family. It's tough in today's day and time. The economy sucks. It's hard to make ends meet. If it's a working family, there's a certain level of stress in there. If it's a non-working family, many cases there's drugs and alcohol involved. Of course, that can be in a working family too. But the non-working families obviously are the freeloaders and the lazy ones. In many cases, that's not disabled. Hear me out here. Working, able people who don't work usually work because they don't want to work and they're on the government's tit. So they're usually high or drunk. And unfortunately, you're getting your domestic shootings in a lot of these cases where a lot of factors play into it. Yes, it's a problem. I don't know that you can identify these unless a teacher or somebody gets involved at a school that sees signs. Do I want that? No, because I don't trust teachers at schools. I certainly don't trust them to identify problems in houses because they got problems in their own. So domestic shootings, although small and rare, they do happen. And I wish I had an answer for it. I wish I knew how to identify them, and I wish I knew how to make them better. I don't. I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, and I'm not the person to do that. I just know that it's still important that we point those out and make sure that we understand that this happens. If you see signs with neighbors, friends, family members, somebody like that, and you see that there's a little bit of turmoil and friction inside the family, I would say offer to lend some soft help. And what I mean by that is don't jump into their business. Just offer that assistance. I think as a keeper of our brother, right, we owe it to them to say, hey man, is there anything we can do? Can we help in some kind of way? I just feel like it's the right thing to do, if you know what I'm saying. Now let's break these down. What did we have for the month of March? Well, guess what? They said that we had 34 mass shootings in the month of March. Guess how many we had? 0. Look at rampage shootings down there. Again, guys, rampage shootings are the ones that they really want us to be afraid of. That's why they elevate these numbers and call these mass shootings, because they want us to be scared that that guy's about to jump out at the mall and shoot our entire family. There was 0 threats of that happening in the month of March. And I'm pretty sure in February we had 0 also. I think we had 1 on January 1st and no more this year. So we've had only 1 true mass shooting, or the way I like to accurately classify them, as a rampage shooting. Only 1 the first 3 months of this year. 1 too many, but only 1. We've had 2 domestic shootings, the ones I just pointed out, in the month of March. 32 confrontational shootings. 32 bar fights, street fights, drive-bys. 32 instances where people got mad at each other, argued, and started shooting at each other. Now, does that scare us? Well, it probably scares people living in these communities when you have these random shots being fired and lobbed all over the place, because it happens, and inherently these people are very, very bad shots. I even pointed out one that had a confirmed Glock switch used. So we have lead flying all over these streets. That does worry me, because people living in that immediate area are obviously in danger of a random stray bullet hitting somebody. And sadly, that happens a lot, where you have a lot of these children, especially in Chicago, that get shot from a stray bullet. And that's very sad, right? Unfortunately, geography in many cases is going to dictate who's really in danger. Am I in danger of any of these 32 that you see on this chart right here? Nope. Because not one of those 32 confrontational shootings is at a time when I'm out and about. Not one of those is anywhere near my neighborhood, so there's not going to be a stray shot. And believe me, I don't live in an upscale gated community. I live in a middle-class community. So these people are not shooting outside my window, so I'm not in any kind of real danger. And again, I'm usually in bed when these people are shooting at each other. I also make it my business not to live in any major metropolitan areas. I'm not anywhere near there either. You take these Democrat-run cities out there and look at them, and that's where your 32 shootings, in most cases, are. The Natchez, Louisiana one, small community. Again, gang-related, but small community. A lot of these are happening in your Chicagos and bigger cities like that. So definitely, if you want to look at where the problem is, it's in poor communities, it's in poorly run communities, and it's in poorly policed communities. I don't mean an area that needs to be policed more. I mean the people in general are not policing it. I'm talking about parents, community members, and yes, maybe an occasional cop car that drives by, but the parents in the community are not policing these areas. These areas are free to do whatever they want. That's why they're identified as such poor areas to happen. Again, was I worried that there were 32? I feel bad for the people who got shot because I don't want to see anyone get shot. But was my wife and my child and my neighbor in any real danger from these 32 shootings? Not one single bit. Not one single bit. Geography and time of day. Those are things right there that preclude me and my neighbors from being in any real danger. The problem we have is the only way to vilify guns and gun owners is to throw the number out there of 34, quote, mass shootings in the month of March to make people think that we have a, quote, gun problem. We don't have a gun problem. We have a community problem. Again, the two domestics, yes, that worries me. I don't see an overall thing that we can do to fix that. Maybe with a better economy, that would improve this a little bit because of the hardships on families. But the 32 that we have that are confrontational, that's a lot of parenting problems right there. Am I blaming just parents? Nope. I'm blaming community leaders who don't care. Community leaders who want to say that race is the reason why we have, quote, gun violence in our communities, and there ain't nothing I can do about it. You a bunch of dummies. You're an idiot. You are part of the problem. You're not trying to fix the problem. You have no answers. So you act like it's a problem that you got no control over. You got exact control over it. You need to be talking to the kids. You need to be talking to parents. You need to be striving to make your community stronger and make these parents give a rip about these kids. But the problem is, in many cases, the reason why you have a 17-year-old slinging dope at 2 a.m. in the morning and shooting at somebody else is because the mom or the dad are doing the same thing on another block somewhere. So we have to, as parents, be better parents, or these numbers will never come down. But in the meantime, if you want to be scared, don't be. Unless you're hanging out by the tennis courts at 2 a.m. in the morning where people are slinging dope and doing stuff they're not supposed to be doing, you are in no danger of being involved in a mass shooting, at least according to the numbers for the last 3 months. Again, there was one in Perry, Iowa on January 4th of 2024. None in February, none in March. We have had one mass shooting in 2024. Not 99. That number of 99 is an absolute lie. It is strictly propaganda, and somebody is profiting off that number being high. But that number is a lie and completely inaccurate. Do not be fooled by it, and certainly don't be scared by it.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. He's over.